Fourscore and 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal.
Sure to hit the mark in just about most things as well as shooting. All you black apples, asshole,
Oh, that's my only pearl.
Who shot ya? Separate the weak from the opsa. Leap hard to creep them Brooklyn streets. It's on, nigga. Fuck all that bickering beef. I can hear sweat trickling down your cheek. Your heartbeat sound like Sasquatch feet. Thundering, shaking the concrete.
Another one. And I looked, and behold, was death, saying, "Come and see."
History prefers legends to men. It prefers nobility to brutality, is to quiet deeds. History remembers the battle, but forgets the blood. However, history remembers me before I was a president. It shall only remember a fraction of the truth.
And hell will follow me.
There is darkness everywhere, Mr. Lincoln.
My mother was murdered. I could see the rage burning.
Tip the balance for the good of all mankind.
I shall kill them all.
It's time we had a nation of our own. This war ends tonight.
In the somber year of 1865, the United States was emerging from the shadow of a devastating civil war. A war so brutal, so ferocious, it had ripped the country into two conflicting halves and left scars that would take a century to heal. The blood-soaked fields, the smoky battle arenas, the echo of cannon fire, and the cries of the wounded, it was all nearing its dreadful end. On the fateful spring day of April 9th, a monumental event transpired. A figure emerged from the shadows of defeat, his face etched with the harsh lines of a grueling war. This was Robert, the beleaguered commander of the Confederate Army. His surrender at the historic Appomattox Courthouse signaled the end of the war. The once grand structure of Appomattox Courthouse now stood as a symbol of reconciliation and peace. The paper on which the terms of surrender were written felt heavy with significance, not just signifying the end of the war, but also the beginning of a path to healing and unity. As news of the surrender spread like wildfire from town to town, the nation held its breath, then exhaled in unison. It was not a cheer of victory, but a sigh of relief. Relief that the war was over. Relief that the nation would no longer be torn apart by brother. And perhaps most critically, relief that the long, painful process of mending the nation's deep wounds could finally begin. The nation, once teetering on the brink of an irrevocable split, had been given a chance to be whole again. 5 days later, on April 14th, President Lincoln decided to attend a play at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. The play was Our American Cousin, a light-hearted comedy to lift the spirits of a war-weary president. But unbeknownst to Lincoln, a plot was brewing in the shadows. John Wilkes Booth, a renowned actor and Confederate sympathizer, was planning Lincoln's assassination. Booth believed that by killing Lincoln, he could reignite the Civil War and bring victory to the South. As the play progressed, Booth snuck into Lincoln's box and shot him in the back of the head. The president was carried across the street to a boarding house where, surrounded by his family and cabinet members, he succumbed to his injuries the next morning. Booth escaped that night, setting off a 12-day manhunt that ended in his death at a Virginia farm. His co-conspirators were arrested and tried. 4 were hanged, and the rest sentenced to prison. With Lincoln's death, Vice President Andrew Johnson assumed the presidency and the task of reconstructing a divided nation. Lincoln's assassination sent shockwaves through the country, forever changing the course of American history. This tale of intrigue and conspiracy has captivated historians and the public alike for over a century. Lincoln's assassination marked a turning point in American history, a moment when the nation's joy at the end of the Civil War was replaced by shock and grief. The story of Lincoln's assassination is not just about the death of a president, but also about the birth of a new era in American history.
I've got a secret. I would like to go over and personally escort our next guest on the show tonight. There you go. Now then, sir. Will you tell our panel, please? Let's get in a little closer. Do you mind if I pull you in, sir? There we go. Will you tell our panel, please, what your name is and where you're from?
My name's Samuel J. Seymour. I'm from Maryland.
This is Mr. Seymour from Maryland. And we brought Mr. Seymour all the way up from Maryland, and by golly, he got in a hotel and fell down the steps and gave himself a shiner. And we urged him not to come on the show tonight, as a matter of fact, and finally got in touch with his doctor, and the doctor said it was up to Mr. Seymour. Mr. Seymour said he wouldn't miss it. So here he is. I'm feeling apparently pretty well. Now then, Mr. Seymour, how old are you, by the way, sir?
96.
96 years old. Now, sir, if you'll whisper your secret to me, I'm sure the folks at home would like to know what it is.
You see,